Today we're having a look at the 2025 New South Wales Country Champs Men's Open Grand Final.
Oh, how about that? It's even better.
Count the man, count the hour.
That is sensational.
Okay, tapping off we have Newcastle City, and defending we have Doyalson, and this is a game I wanted to do because it is a grand final rematch of the 2024 State Champs or State Cup, with Doyalson winning on the buzzer in that game. So let's have a look to see how this matchup unfolds. Now, what I will say before we go into the first try is though both teams are missing significant players. Obviously, the Langridge brothers for Doyalson are the most notable, and the Edwards boys for Newcastle are probably the most notable absences, plus a few more in each team as well. But we have Doyalson here with first possession that leads to a try. And it does look tight, but it is just a standard sweeper. It's gone a bit back a little bit too far. So we have the two middles here. These are the two middles. Now I know the elevation and the angle of the camera makes it look like they're a long way away from this side of the field, but I think that they are pretty close to the middle. Anyway, so we have middle, and he is going to dump the ball on his opposing middle for a sweeper, and he's going to split infield. Okay, because if he splits out, obviously when you're sweeping around, you will just run into the back of him. So the dumper and the sweeper kind of make a circular motion around the player who's going to be dummy half, which is the other middle. And this is just very simple. What the player does here when he gets the ball is he will run straight, right at this defender here, and as soon as that squares his hips up or makes him sort of pull direct, he'll then step outwards and beat him. Because when you're running backwards, when this player here is running backwards, especially when he turns to be square or facing forward, it's very hard to move laterally. So that is the chance. As soon as they do that, that is your chance to step. If they continue to pull corner, obviously you would step back towards the open side or towards the camera side. But we go slow motion. He steps. And he's just wrong-footed the middle there, which creates that distance. This link needs to come in, which is not ideal because it's the short side, and the winger stays out because he's following policy, man on the short side, and that leaves the hole between the wing and the link. First try, 1-up, Doyalson. And you can see we're 4 minutes in, so had a few completed sets before this. So this is a reverse quickie, but I want to talk about the lead up because we've covered reverse quickies a lot on the channel. But in the lead up, you can see that they look like they're setting up for a short side quickie. They look like they just want to go down on this middle here, step to the short side, get the ball back, and then try and attack this middle while he's offside. That's what it looks like they want to do. But Doyalson are really good at the pre-touch, which means anyone who's not making the touch starts to get back on side. And you can just see this middle here, he starts to prop back. And when you see this, if you want to get both middles up, the idea is to create as much distance as you can because you don't want this player here to be able to touch two players at once. So when they check here, when they pass the ball, you can see that they've just backed off that little bit. And now they have two middles up. Because this guy has to stay here. He can't drop back. And even if he does drop back, if you charge in here, they're going to have both middles basically the same distance off the line, which is what happens. He starts to get his pre-touch here, but it's just too difficult because he was already 8 meters out. And because you've got two middles up, it really doesn't matter which way you split. And it's really good that he does a reverse quickie here because his momentum is already going this way. So it's a lot easier for him to change the line on the direction that he's already going rather than do that awkward sort of 90-degree pivot and get the ball back here. So the reverse quickie on this case, providing you play the ball square, is ideal because that's already the direction you were running. You're already running across the face, and then you continue that run and get the ball and you're at speed. And obviously because one middle is now only just getting back on side, this guy here on the reverse quickie, he can't save that. So if you've got a sidestep and a dive, I definitely recommend the reverse quickie because the touching middle, you just can't save. And that's what happens. Just gets underneath, and it's a try. So I'm talking pretty quiet, and I'm doing this late at night. People are asleep. Doyalson hit back here. Let's have a look at this. So this is just a basic, quite a basic play. It's just a 4-on-3. So this guy, we'll assume that this is a middle. I don't think this is where they exactly play, but it's a middle going down or making the dump on his opposing middle. But he is going to have his link be the dummy half. And when your link's dummy half, you're splitting out. So you're just continuing that, and we call it a fade. So you're just fading out, and you become the link yourself. That way, when the link goes to dummy half, he is ball playing against this number 16 here who's just made the touch, and he wants to beat him. Now, the line is very good here. He starts going slightly short side. He sees that this player here does not square up, and because he doesn't square up, he's always pulling corner, which going back this way is now the only option. And the other thing is about this is timing. Now, you need to understand that if he's getting onside here, you need to step when he's about here, just before he gets onside. And with a lot of practice, that's where the step is. And just before he gets onside, he beats him. And this player here, you would like to think that he would shut that down, because if you let the dummy half run between two middles, I've got a video on this. Once the dummy half gets between the two middles, it's the most difficult thing that you need to stop. All right, so if you shut that down there and then trust that the link's going to make a read, whether he goes here or out the back, that's what I would be doing. But he lets the dummy half run through, probably because he's got too much faith in his other middle or the touching middle, but then it's just a try. So Newcastle hit back once again. So they just run another sweeper, Newcastle. When I say another, I mean they've probably run a few of these in the game. And this is something to do once you've run a couple of sweepers, especially if you've got someone that's really fast or is the dominant ball player. They can be a really good decoy. So this is Will Botham here, one of the fastest in the league, and you'll see it in the last play of this game. He comes around screaming onto this sweeper, which I guess it doesn't really worry this defender, but he understands that he needs to pull a hard corner to match his pace. And if he pulls a hard corner, that means this saving middle here just off screen, he has to come over pretty quickly to cover that middle gap. And because that happens there, this player dummies and then he takes off. And all he has to do now is beat this saving middle who's off screen. He's just behind that little cross there. So this is actually the link. So that's his player here. So there's a lot of space on this open. Well, it's actually technically the open side. It does feel like the short side when they run. But that's what it is. It just goes against the grain. And you normally this guy isn't so tight. He's probably around here. It's this play here that's normally quite tight. So that line to run is normally what opens up. But here, because both of those middle and link were really tight, the short ball was on. So I do have a video about that. It's something like this is an underrated play or something like that. If I remember, I'll put it in the comments, but I probably won't remember because it's late at night. So this is another one where the half runs through, but there's a little bit of a difference here. So it's the same play as before. This is the middle going down for the link, and you will fade out. Ideally, they want the dump on the middle here. They get it on the link, but the middle's still up anyway. So same play. Not the greatest of dump. Now it's just a foot race, and we go short side. Okay, so if you're pulling corner, you should be probably here, but I can understand the play looked like it was going to break down, so Newcastle might have relaxed a little bit. But the reason we can let the dummy half run here, the reason this player in defense is not just shutting that, is on the short side, one, they're going to run out of space really quickly, because if he just runs, he's going to eventually run into that sideline. And, excuse me, these guys here aren't stepping up. Because their policy is pulling corner, they're not stepping up. So if this guy will not just run past them into the in goal, they're actually pulling sort of backwards at that angle. So they can man on and mirror their player really easy. Whereas the open side, they're trained to step up and shut down. So if you step up, these guys here will just run straight through you, which is what happened last time. The support player just ran through. But on the short side, now it's just a mirror. Now I know this is a try, but look what happens right there. The Doyalson player gives him a little tiny shove. Very subtle, but that's the difference right there. So the ball's down. It's a very nice put down, but just that little bit of a shove there that it's very hard to pick up. And look, it may not have made much difference, but I'll let you decide that. Once again, nice simple play. It's the exact same play for the third time. It's just that fade 4-on-3, dumping the ball for your link. So there it is there. You can see your player pulling corner. This guy's going to fade out, and this guy here can attack this middle. And it's all about what their hips do. If their hips square up, you take them on short side. If they continue with the policy and continue to go short side, then you play open side. And Newcastle run that passive play here. So you can see how far into the line he runs. That's the key one here I want to point out. He runs to the point where this is almost a touch pass. And we have a short hole running nice and flat, which engages this link here. And now it's up to this winger here to get a read with that much like space of field to cover. And that is a very hard thing to do. And we just pick our option. And that's it there. So he was standing a little bit deeper just to make sure that ball wasn't intercepted. Another nice play here. We have two middles here. I'll just go back a little bit. So we have two middles. We have a ball playing middle and a middle that is known to run. So your options here are really good. Short side quickie, you dump the ball and you split short, and normally you would get the ball back and then attack. You'd run direct and attack this player that just made the touch. And normally this guy, his job is to protect that gap between the middles. All right, so if you have a good ball player, this guy is going to pull a hard corner because he doesn't want to get beat short side. But because this player here now has to come in, especially if he was up making the touch, he was up here. So instead of, if he was on the line here, he could shuffle over and still move forward. But because he was up, he has to just move diagonally back, and that's just even harder to move forward. So because he's just going against the grain now with the ball, it just they both slip over. But that is a common thing. You can slip over. You get that saving middle. You get caught up in the touch, and then you've got to get back to the line. You go at that diagonal, and then all of a sudden you got to then chase back around. It's just a weird angle. You can tell by that stupid line. And then it's just find a support player. Again, short side quickie into a quarterback. And into the second phase. Quite a slow second phase, but it still worked. So there's the pull corner by the defense. He splits to the side and gets the ball. And because he now has the ball and is attacking this vulnerable offside player, this middle has to be nice and tight to make sure that they don't dive between them. Meanwhile, this player here that's dummy half will then, once he releases the pass, he will bounce out to run again against the grain and hoping to catch that middle wrong-footed. And there it is there. I do have a video on the quarterback, and you can see this is him trying to change that angle. It is a very hard remover to go one way at a fair speed, only to counter that and go the other way at a full acceleration. And now it's just 3-on-2. So what he does here is he goes the short hole. Winger gets a good read, but if that was planned, Winger probably, a lot of people would say he didn't need to be rough in that touch, but he was probably trying to destroy the play the ball and give away a penalty. They got to play the ball anyway, and now it's just a nice second phase. Again, 4-on-3, dumping for your link. And this is what we talk about again, understanding when the offside player is going to be onside, and right before that is when you beat him. So there's the fade. We run, step, and then it's short. We don't have to worry about this one too much. It's just the simple 4 on 3, down for your link, and then run. But it's very important to make sure that that run into the dump is fast and you're taking off with speed. So this one here is probably the only one that was not great attack. It was a bit of a defensive error that has still led to a try. So we've tried to go for a sweep, and this player here is double touched. So normally when you're sweeping, you want to sweep into the player that's made the touch, which would hopefully be this player here. But because he hasn't made the touch, he's just got a little bit of a head start to get onside. So if they give it to the sweeper here, if we continue playing, the sweeper gets it right there, play continues for the defender, and he's probably all the way back there. And that's just too much of a gap to try and ball play. So they run that quarterback, which again, this player here is literally going to make the touch. So the link just got caught too far in. Like he probably forgot that he was on the short side because they're running a sweeper. But if we go back to that dump, he's actually the short side. So he probably just needed to hold off a little bit there. Almost got him. Once again, it's the most popular play in touch football. It is the 4 on 3, dump the ball for your link. There it is there. And this time it's just a long ball. And the key to this, everyone goes on about how great that long ball was, but a long ball means nothing if you don't have your support players running those holes. So the only way that you can engage, hold this guy in, hold the winger in, hold this guy in. The first run has to be hard and direct to make this guy prop. This run has to be hard to make this guy prop, and the link has to be either screaming into that next hole over to make the winger come in, or be passive to make the winger come in and think that they've got to snipe something. Looks like he was probably a little bit passive. But either way, those lines have to be practiced a lot. And people don't realize actually the importance of just running a nice line. Something a little bit different, but we saw the similar sort of play with these two. It was a fake short side quickie. These are the two that were involved, but this time it's just off a splitter platform. So you'll see this player pulls corner, and the aim is to catch the back middle wrong-footed and go the other way. So he'll dummy to the splitter that's coming through and then just take off. And when he does that, the splitter will then go through like the normal splitter and then trail, just to get an inside ball that might catch this defender pulling short side, napping. So there it is. He's still dummied. And there's a double slip over once again. I actually never noticed this when I was cutting up the footage. And it's a 3 on 2. So normally you would just let him run, but you would have these two players chasing. It would have been interesting if it was a deja vu play and he ended up passing the ball back to Dylan Thompson for a try. But the short ball was on again. And a try. So that same player has caused two players to slip over twice. So we have the full, we're going to talk about the full drop off here. So we start at 4 on 4 and it goes for 2 minutes. If we still have a draw after that, then they drop a player off and it's 3 on 3. So they score within the first 37 seconds. Took his time putting that down. All right, let's have a look at the play. So we got a splitter. So by splitter, it's very difficult to do the splitter on the run. Some teams can do it. I probably don't recommend it as much just because of the movements that this player's got to do. It's very difficult to go and pick up that ball, pop it, and then accelerate the other way. Look, like I said, this team is more than capable of doing it. So we have a dump on your opposing middle, and it's kind of like a fade. You're doing the same line as what you would do for a 4 on 3, but instead of the link picking up from dummy half, he is going to split through the ruck and it's going to be a little pop pass. And the key to this is the pop pass here, the guy that's passing the ball, is to then create distance between you guys. Because like I said, we don't want this player to come up and be able to touch both players at the same time. Which is what he does. And he steps again just before this player's onside. And now it's a 3-on-2. Throws it early and they go for the second phase. And that's just quick hands. It was a bit of a mess, that play, but the quick hands and just the skill was able to get him that try. So Newcastle now had the chance to level the score. Obviously, though, once this goes to a 3-on-3 drop-off, it is just golden try. So if you score at 3-on-3, you win the game. So that'll be at the 32-minute mark. So they have about 1 minute to score a try in Newcastle. And drop-offs are really interesting. It just always seems like that when you practice a lot for a drop-off, you never get in one. And then you get in a drop-off and you're like, I probably should have practiced this more. It's just one of those things. Reverse. All right, so a reverse quickie, which is not a bad option, I guess. So we have a quickie, and he's going to split infield. Excuse me. Now, an option here is you just give it to the player that's dumping the ball, and you rip the pass straight to your link on the out. That is one option, but he just does the standard reverse quickie. So this will turn around this saving middle to be trying to defend man on. And again, this guy can't really save, so he's got to try and save. So he's got to still come at an inwards angle to try and get onside, just in case they dive at this middle's feet. So there's the step, and now he has to hold because he's too far away. If he releases, if this guy goes man on, then it's a dive straight there. So they have to hold, he has to hold, which makes him hold, and that just allows the long ball over the top. Which, if this was 6-on-6, that was probably not enough space to do so, but it's 4-on-4, so you have a little bit more freedom where you're dumping the ball. Okay, and we have 10 seconds left, so Doyalson need to try and get a try. If they get a try here, they probably win the game because then it'll just run out the clock. But what I would have probably done is I would have slowed down the play the ball a lot more. I would have given yourself plenty of time and then tried to attack the 3-on-3. So this is a counties play. Again, it's not a terrible play to do. You dump the ball, this is middle link, and you step in. Now, if you pull corner, that's probably a good thing. If you go in the direction of the way that the dumper steps, they will just... So if you start going, oh, he's just passed the ball in, I'm going to go this way, then he will get the ball and just dart back to the short side, and it's a 2-on-1. So here it is. These guys have to hold because the dive is an option. He's a live player. He can just dive straight between the middles. The only thing I would probably say in this situation is run all the way into the line as far as you can. I think he just probably passes the ball a little bit early. If he takes that couple of more steps, it really holds this player in spot. But because he's passed the ball a little bit early, he's just started his run out. And I think he may have got there. Like, you can be the judge here. Oh, it's tough to say. But yeah, if he runs it all the way in, that extra couple of steps probably gets him a little bit of time to set his pass. But like yeah, you're splitting hairs there when you think about it. But have a look at this. This is something that I did notice the first time I watched it. Look at Newcastle. Now this is a drop-off. They have to drop one player off. That is what it says in the rules. But they have one player come on the field. Now, he wasn't on at the start. I don't think you're allowed to do that. Now, it doesn't definitively say, but what it does say is you just have to have a player drop off. So they've had 2 players drop off and a fresh player come on. Now, is that in the rules, or is that breaking the rules? Like I said, I can't definitively just say the answer. I'm going to actually have a video on this. So if you don't get up to this, there will be another video on this. But check it out. It's a bit of a I'm kind of glad if someone was going to do this, it was Will Botham too, because of the way that the State Cup ended. It was Doyalson catching Newcastle napping. And this one, it's not so much napping like Doyalson. I think they're currently 4 available runners on the bench, and they would have been absolutely out on their feet. And this guy's probably one of the fastest in the comp at the moment. The fastest in touch football I would have. I thought that was a touch, but honesty wins in this case, and they call no touch. And it's not structured at all. It's just he saw a bit of a gap and he went for it. So Newcastle win in a absolutely thrilling game, country champs grand final. So what does that do for State Cup? I have no idea. It does not really help with my predictions just because of the sheer magnitude of players that were missing from these 2 teams. However, it's still made for some very exciting touch football. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Let me know your opinions on the things that I just brought up, especially that one about the drop-off, but there will be another video coming about that. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time.